Alright, what's going on, guys? We got a trade recap today for March 12th, Wednesday, March 12th. I took one win and one loss. Once again, that's pretty frustrating. For me, every single day that I've taken a win, I've also taken a loss. But we'll go over the loss that I took. The loss that I took was actually a long, which was on NQ. And then I took this short here on ES. With lower size because I had taken the previous loss and it made up for it, up around like 500 on the day, so nothing crazy at all. But we're going to go over the market and my bias. So higher time frames are all still bearish. We are holding these 4-hour imbalances on ES and NQ. If we go to ES as well, we're still holding this 4-hour imbalance. It's actually the same imbalance that we were reacting off of yesterday. Same imbalance we were reacting off of yesterday, except we came back up and remanipulated this high. We had CPI news data come out an hour before market opened. And with that CPI news data, we came back up, remanipulated this high. And so my original bias was looking for shorts to the downside, with this external 4-hour liquidity being my external draw on liquidity. But the reason I took a long right here is because we had these data highs. I knew in the back of my mind that the overall higher time frame bias was bearish, but I thought there was a good chance that we come back up to these data highs and take them, as data highs are usually a nice little draw on liquidity, as well as we had generated these highs within the range. So we came back down when market opened and rebalanced to this 15-minute fair value gap. We had an internal sweep on liquidity right here. We also took this low right here. My trade was actually on this fair value gap right here. This was the trade that I took. It's about a 1 to 8. I mean, 1.8 RR trade. So if we just go to market replay real quick, we were holding this 15-minute. ES was selling off. Keep in mind, ES at this time was selling off, and we had a bullish SMT at these lows right here. These were 15-minute lows. So we were holding this 15-minute imbalance. We had an internal sweep on liquidity. If we just continue, I noticed that we were generating a high here, generating a high here. We come back down, put in another low, then we come back down to it, sweep that low, still holding this SMT, still holding this 15-minute imbalance. And we have this small internal swing low right here. So I told myself, when price is right here, this is also 10 a.m. We could expect this to be, potentially 10 a.m. reversal to these data highs. So this looked good to me. I knew that the overall high time frame bias was bearish, but before I even entered the trade, I accepted the risk that I'm fine with taking a loss here. If we get clear and obvious displacement up and open up some fair value gaps within the range, I'm fine with taking a loss because this is worth a trade entry to me. So we actually get that displacement here. We open up 1 minute here and a 1 minute fair value gap here as well. Let me just mark those out. So I set limit orders here, stops below these lows here. We had that displacement back into the range, internal sweep, SMT, holding a 15-minute. So we had data highs above. So I entered right here when price came back down. We disrespected this first one, then we came back down to the second one, respected it. I was looking to add if we came up and inversed this bearish fair value gap. I would have added here and moved stops up to below this low. That didn't end up happening though, and we came down and stopped myself out. So that was the loss that I took. Like I said, I had already accepted the risk beforehand, knowing that it was going against the higher time frame bias. But it still did look good to me, and I was willing to take a trade on it. So I still had conviction in it. So that was the first loss that I took, wanting to see these data highs get taken. And then after that happened, it's clear to me at this point that the overall higher time frame is bearish. ES is selling off a lot more. ES has been holding bearish order flow for the whole day. Let's see. And I noticed that we had come up, manipulated this high on ES, and we displaced lower and created this 15-minute breaker, essentially. We had this 15-minute breaker here. If we go to the 5-minute as well, 5-minute displacement below these swing lows. And actually this was a bearish SMT, because you can see NQ came up and took these highs right here. If we go to the 1-minute chart, NQ came up and took these highs. Boom. ES did not, so ES was weaker here. So this was technically a bearish SMT as well. And then we had a market structure shift, opened up this 15-minute breaker block, and we had this 5-minute order block right here. So I noticed that the 5-minute comes up. This is around the same time that I'm getting stopped out, but I noticed that on this original pump up here, it took ES to this 15-minute breaker block. We tapped it, and then it sold. And then on the 5-minute chart, we sold off again, and then created this 5-minute order block. So I'm scaled into the 1-minute chart. I see that we respected this breaker block. We have this now 5-minute order block. We tap into it, and we have this internal low right here. Let me just delete these. We have this internal low that was put in right here. And then we have this inverse fair value gap, which is where I entered. Like I said, this second trade I entered with lower sized because I had already taken a loss here. And because I was entering off of order blocks and breaker blocks rather than a fair value gap. So less conviction in the trade, but still identifying that higher time frame order flow is bearish. To me, we have this sell model to this internal low, which actually just got taken. I took my full partial here off at this internal low right here. But regardless, going back to the 1-minute chart, zooming in, we came up, tapped this order block as well. Then we inversed this. It was actually right here. We inversed this bearish fair value gap. So I set my limit order right here. We also opened up a 1-minute bearish fair value gap. Sorry. Let me go back. We inverse this bullish fair value gap, and we create this 1-minute bearish fair value gap. And I set my limit order right in this range here, right at equilibrium, I believe. Yes, equilibrium right here. So I entered. Stops above this internal high here. And then we came back up. We actually almost got stopped out here, and then price continued lower. Let me just show the... so you can see I sold here. We came back up, almost took this internal high, and then we continued to sell off. And this is more of just like an order flow, lower size trade, identifying the fact that like we are truly bearish. Higher time frame wise and lower time frame wise, you can see ever since market opened, it's been lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower high, lower lows. And now we're probably about to put in a lower high, but either way, order flow bearish. We had these confluences with this breaker block, with this 5-minute order block, inverse fair value gap. I took one contract off at this low here and let my partial go to this internal low here. I actually ended up taking it off here at this internal low right here. Because I took it off here because I noticed that NQ was also at the exact same time tapping into this 1-hour imbalance, and the fact that we still have these untapped data highs at the highs, price could potentially react off of here, come up and manipulate this high again. So just to be safe, I took it off right here. So like I said, yeah, up around 500 on the day, essentially break even. One win, one loss. and it wasn't the cleanest day ever. It's also realizing that today we did have that high impact news, CPI news data come out. So done for the day. Not the cleanest day ever, but gonna take what I can get. I'm happy to be in profit on the day after the first loss. And like I said, I'm fully okay with taking that loss on the long because I had fully accepted the risk beforehand, knowing that the overall higher time frames are bearish. So bias is still lower for right now, and going into tomorrow, we'll see what kind of structure forms overnight. And yeah, man, that is the trade recap. That's what I saw. That's how I was able to execute today. Like I said, not the cleanest day ever, but sometimes you just gotta take what you can get. So that's the trade recap for me. So I appreciate you watching, and I will see y'all. Actually, I've had some questions I've seen in the comments. I appreciate all the support, and I've seen some questions about daily bias. So my goal is to make a daily bias video this weekend and release that to y'all of how I actually go about forming my daily bias and identifying when my daily bias becomes invalidated and switching my bias. So I've seen your comments about that. My plan is to release a video this weekend for that. So stay on the lookout for that, as well as market recaps for Thursday and for Friday this week. So appreciate you watching. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.